part of Indigenous Voice. In this part, we are going to talk about Geronimo Canoe Club, and we are really privileged to have with us Gus Morris and Lynn Morris, they are going to Tahiti in 2017 to participate in the World Champion Cup. But before talking about this event, first, you are very nice to have you on the show, Gus and Lynn. Would you please tell us first a little bit background about the club, how it started, when, and why?
Oh, well, our club started back in 1974, before we were ever born, This was a club that was started by our grandparents, late Ivan and late Madeline Morris. It was a club that they started for their children, our parents. There was 4 brothers, Wayne, Leonard, Howard, Bruce, and 2 sisters, Sylvia and Ivy. That was their kids, our parents, our uncles and aunties. So it was started for them. They all started paddling at a young age, and then they just wanted to get their own going, so they bought a canoe for their kids. And this is the stories we were told about Geronimo in the beginning. It really grew from there. Our parents and our aunties and uncles, they were all really awesome paddlers in their days. It's something that they knew their whole lives, and we kind of were born into this. We started this at a very young age too, and we had some pretty big shoes to kind of fill. Our parents were good at this, and we were expected to just fall right into place.
How old are you when you start that?
I've been paddling since I was, as long as I can remember, right? We grew up down the beach. Every summer, all of the kids would go down the beach and we'd swim and we'd paddle and pretend that we were winning the races like our parents were doing. And that was our dream, was to race and do what our parents were doing, win the races, win men's single, women's single, men's double, all of the traditional war canoe races. That's what our goals were as we were growing up, and then it just kind of grew from there. It was just really fun from what I remember, growing up, every summer you look forward to traveling to different places, different communities, and it was just a lot of fun.
What about you, Lynn? When did you start first?
Same thing, grew up down the beach, on the water. I must have been about 7 years old. It was my first actual big canoe race. Our big canoes are 11-man dugout work canoe race. That's my first memory of that as just a little youngster.
And good, this is one of the traditional sport, or not just a sport, it's important part of the life of the indigenous people. But coming back to late Ivan and Madeline, they worked a lot to prepare the team, and based on my reading from the website, for example, there was not just only the physical training, there was mental training, and there was a spiritual one. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the physical part, yes, we all knew what it took to train properly, and the spiritual part of things, just always to keep a clear mind. And our grandparents taught us to always be humble about who we were. You don't celebrate, you don't show off, I guess, is what it is when you're doing well at something, out on the water when we're racing and we try to not be that way, I guess you can say. It's just how that's how they taught us to be. Well, they taught our parents, and it was kind of handed down.
Tell me about the racing history you have. Like, what kind of competition you did and where, since you started in the club, Lynn?
The competitions we have are pretty. Some of it gets pretty haywire on the water. Like 11-man, especially. Like we've had so many rival canoe clubs up and down the island in Washington State, Chilliwack. We've had some pretty good races with those communities, and it's all in sport. Take it as it is. Leave everything. Another thing our grandparents taught us was leave it on the water. All your emotion, leave it out there. Get on the beach, you shake their hand and tell them good race. No, leave everything. All your bad feelings, whatever happened out there, stays out there. So, yeah, some of it's kind of hard to do, but we grew up learning those good teachings, and yeah.
You have some challenge in this competition. Before we go and talk about the competition itself, you don't have the proper canoe to practice on, or you are not practicing right now on the canoe that you are going to race on later in Tahiti. Is that correct?
Yes, we're actually training on our traditional war canoes, like our singles, we call them. What we need as a club is to have an Outrigger 6 to train on and to kind of learn the little, I guess, the limits of the boat. Like we've actually tipped over a few times in a few different races, big races actually. And if we had our own to train on properly, that sort of thing might not happen. We need to practice more on one of those. Just it's same idea, same paddling thing, but it's just we don't know the limits of those things, like what we can do and what we can't do. So it's our goal is to own one day.
This is, I think, it's just a basic goal, because in this kind of competition, a little bit different about it could depend on many issues. Imagine if you are practicing on a different boat.
Yes.
It's still, I know there is the energy you are spending, but when you work together all in one boat, have the same rhythm, this is different process, and if you don't have it, it's kind of you are having less advantage than other teams there.
Yes, it is. It's a big advantage for other clubs that do have the proper stuff to train on, but we've pushed through a lot of things, and we've achieved some pretty good things within our club. And in Outrigger in the past couple of years, we've really pushed through, and we've actually won the Canadian Nationals. And that in itself is a big accomplishment for our club. Our club it's a fairly decent sized canoe club. We have 11 men, 11 women, and we're going to be working on the youth. That's kind of what our goals are, is to bring our youth and to the next level, and do better than we've ever done.
And where is you going through the Canadian National Championship? Where is the Canadian government support in that case? You are going to the Tahiti Championship under the name of Canada team. Is that correct?
Yes.
I forgot to mention that both of you are from the Tsartlip First Nation.
Yes, we are both from Tsartlip First Nation.
So in case you went there, and I know you have a lot of competition there, but you seem you have a good history, and there is a big possibility coming back with the champion. The name, there will be a lot of credit for the Canadian state here, in spite of there is no any support been done to you by the state. Is that correct?
Yes, there's to go and represent Canada is an honor for us, but it would be nice to get some sort of support.
Exactly.
If we're representing Canada at that level, we're going to race against the very best. Like, there's huge competition there. These guys are professional athletes that we're going to race. Yes, and we do this it's a big part of our life, but we train the way we train here. It would be nice to get some sort of support.
Yeah, I mean, you focus on the training, you focus on the sport, and somebody else should take care of that support to be sure you are completely focused on what you are doing.
Yes.
I know, but now sadly, people in the community, and I know you have a fundraising going on for your.
Yes.
And I hope everybody will help with that. But my point is, if there is a possibility here, the name of Canada will be up there, because if what you are doing, there will be some support from the government. And
yeah. Well, with that sort of stuff, the government, I don't know a lot about that stuff, right? But
I don't blame you, because you focus on different stuff.
Yeah, like we're
sport and the tradition of that sport itself. I mean, so I'm sure it's fun, but I know you build your own boats. Is that correct? Or
the traditional 11-man and 6-man, those are things that our grandparents bought and our parents, and we've just kind of maintained them over the years. The smaller canoes that we race, the singles and the doubles, my brother Len actually does make. He builds them, and that's basically it.
What, anything, Glenn?
Oh yeah, there's cedar strip canoes. It's a lot easier to come by cedar planks rather than taking down finding a whole log that's 30 feet long for a double or a single, and that's one log. You can get at least 20 planks out of it. You get from probably one 20-foot tree, you could get maybe 3 or 4 singles out of. So, with the change of times, most of our circuit is going to cedar strip. There's cedar strip 11-mans and 6-mans coming out now, and singles and doubles, of course, are easier to come by. I started making those quite a while ago with my dad. He kind of showed me the way about that. Paddles, I've made quite a few paddles as well.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, it's just always learning. Yeah.
All of us. Now, talking about the competition, which is where you are heading, guys, do you have an idea about the other teams, like their preparation, how they strong are, or?
Just off YouTube. they have quite a big following in Tahiti. The Tahitian crews that's their national sport is paddling. So you always
going
watch
there.
Yeah, we're going there to we share the water with them, right? It's gonna be a fun experience, but just watching them, they're elite paddlers. I'm envious of how they get to live. They could paddle to work, and they live on a little island, and it's such nice weather, and we're paddling in cold weather here, right? So
I know, but still in Victoria, in the island,
it's such a beautiful place.
Yeah, the Congo and Sanish territory. It's kind of, we have a lot of better weather comparison somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure you are excited, but what do you expect, you think? I mean, do you have any expectation, or just going for the experience and see what will happen?
Oh, our expectations. Well, mine, actually. I just want to go there and do the best we can. Like, we know that we're up against the very best in the world, and just to be in the same race with those guys is a big accomplishment. A lot of people can't say they've raced at an event like that. It's hard to make it into a race like that. And when we did this nationals to qualify for that race, that was a tough race too, to get there, and to go and represent Canada at a race like that. We're up against some pretty tough paddlers, and I just want to go there and do the best we can.
I'm going to ask George and Joey about that stage before you going there. So I'm sure, good luck to you going to the Lion home taking the prize from the Tahitian.
Oh yeah.
And I hope, or not, you need all support, not just from people and also from an institution. If you are going under the name of Canada, I hope somebody think about that. You are bringing something to all the Canadian here, so they need to involve more in your work and let you focus on your thing.
Yes.
Good luck to you guys. And
Okay.
thanks for being on the show.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for watching this part, and we'll be back in a little bit with George and Joey to continue talking more about the Tahiti World Champion. Thanks. Welcome back to the second part. We are continuing to talk about Geronimo Canoe Club, and we have with us George, Horne, and Joey, Seward. The remaining of the team of mostly George, you are from Tsawout and Tsartlip First Nation,
Yes.
and Joey, you are from Tsartlip First Nation.
Yep.
The remaining of the team, you are going to go in Tahiti.
Yeah.
We already. Thanks a lot for being on the show. And as we were saying, it's kind of awkward to say I am the host and you are the guest. Actually, I am a host on your land, and you are. I am the guest on your land, and you are the host of this. So, welcome here, and thanks for allowing me to be interviewee for interviewer here.
Yeah.
And let's go back, continue talking about the canoeing, not just as a sport, as a tradition. George, if you just start telling us about the tradition of canoeing and the history of Indigenous people.
The history of the war canoe race, I guess, goes back quite a few years. Back to before
The settler
the
arrived.
settlers came.
Mm-hmm.
Our Coast Salish people fought each other's nations, I guess you could say, or tribes, different tribes, from up and down the coast, up north, on the island. The stories I heard from an older fella that is no longer with us from the Pat Bay area, Sycam Reservation. He said he's seen it when he was a young man. So they'd go to war with each other. They're bigger canoe, wider, a little bit long, but not very fast. So our people made a longer, narrower canoe to war against them. To hear these kind of stories was kind of neat for me.
And only not just that. I mean, we all know even when you go celebrate with other nation. I mean, you go with the boat, you have a celebration, and sometimes you have a fight. But
Yeah.
not only for fighting. I mean,
No, yeah.
kind of giving the impression that it's only for fight. No, it's for celebration and bonding and exchanging.
Yeah, times changed, and it became something good, and made us competitive. And for us, it's like war on the water, but it's a war of a race for us now. I think it's pretty cool. We still do battle on the water. It happens. We do have rival canoes, and there's a lot of canoes that know who we are, and we know who we competed against pretty much every weekend throughout the summer. So.
And of course, you build your own canoe. Every nation has their, as you said, their own style or way to build their own canoe, whether narrower, wider.
Yeah, that became on certain certain person that builds them. Each builder has their own style of the way they want it, and it just works for the paddler, I guess. Yeah.
Joey, would you elaborate, please, about the culture aspect of canoeing?
Yeah, it's a traditional sport. Well, it's a sport to us now. We we were born into this as a sport. Before it was, our canoes were used more for traveling purposes. Partaking in different cultural ceremonies, visiting family, hunting, gathering, fishing. That was the use of our canoes before, but it's more of a sport. It's a sport to us now, and it's a tradition that we carry from our grandparents and their parents, and that's where it all started. So,
when did you start with this traditional sport?
I got put on the canoe when I was 5 years old. I raced a race in Seattle, Washington, and but competitively, I guess, since I was a teenager, I guess, buckskin. The first goal, like we ever come up with is, trying to crack the top 11, our 11-man crew. There's always a goal for all of us younger ones to be a part of the actual men's Geronimo crew, and that was the huge goal for all of us growing up. And once you crack that, you want to try and make the 6-man crew, which was a tough task, but I guess we all accomplished that. And then trying to win the small canoe races, which is an individual effort on a solo canoe. That's a really tough task to do, but the goals just keep going up from there. We competed in those races for all our lives, and now we're trying our hand in outrigger racing, and I guess we're doing pretty well. We strung together some pretty good wins. We won the Canadian Nationals 3 times and have the opportunity to represent Canada at a world-class level in Tahiti. So,
yeah, this is a great accomplishment, but just take us through how you get to this point. Like, for example, through the race, last race you did, which qualified you to become here. If you can take us through that.
Well, Canadian Nationals, we compete in our own traditional races all summer. So that's how we prepared for the Canadian Nationals. We follow all the proper traditions of, cleansing your mind, your body, and your spirit before entering a canoe. Like the cedar dugout canoes are very sacred to us. If anything cedar is, we consider alive, and so we take care of the canoe, it takes care of us, and it's a good lifestyle to live.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
Just back to preparing, we race those canoes all summer, so we follow those traditions to keep fit and keep our minds and spirits right, and we take those teachings over to compete in the higher levels, of outrigger racing.
How long usually the average race? Like how many kilometer?
In a outrigger race?
When you race?
Or traditional or outrigger?
Outrigger, the one you are going to the competition, Tahiti.
The Canadian Nationals was 24 kilometers long.
And the one you are going to?
I think it's the same.
Same thing.
I think it's the same. I think it's.
But again, as we mentioned before, talking with Gus and Len, you don't have the right canoe to practice on.
No, it was.
How is that? Tell me about this challenge.
It's a little bit tougher for us. A lot of the other clubs and a lot of the canoes that we race against for the outriggers, they're in it pretty much every day or every other day, however they train. And for the Canadian Nationals, it was actually our first time being in an outrigger 6 for that race. It was a little bit tougher, but.
Okay. So what's the difference exactly between the boat now you practice on and the boat you are going to use during the World Cup in Tahiti?
Our canoes are longer and a little bit wider. For when we switch sides, switch paddlers onto the other side, it's we got to slide. The guys in the middle have to slide. And an outrigger, we just have to just switch our paddle. That's it. They're sitting. It's just as wide as your hips, I guess.
Yeah, so there is that momentum.
then,
You should learn to do it.
Yeah.
Now switching. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and then
that. And then there's the ama. Like,
The ama.
They have a like a, what do they call it? An extra brace, whatever, to keep you upright. Called ama. They have one of those. We don't have those in our canoes, so it's a lot tippier, I guess. And
Yeah, there is a fundraising going on for just to be sure that you practice in the right canoe, and this is really important because otherwise you have less advantage than other teams there.
yeah.
And Gus and Lynn told us a little bit about the Tahiti team, but do you know anything about them?
The things that we know are that they are the best paddlers in the world. One of the races we wanted to go in when we first started going into these outrigger races was the Molokai Hill. And it's you race from Molokai to Oahu, and it's 42 miles long, 41 miles long.
Who other nations are participating in that? Do you have an idea? Or, it's
For Tahiti?
not. I mean, in the competition, the world competition, beside you and Tahiti, who other nation involved in the World Cup?
it's a world event, so we'll be racing against like New Zealand people, Australians, Brazil, Chile.
So the indigenous people on all these states, they participate in this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Aboriginal.
No,
It's just like a world-class event.
Work exactly,
Yeah.
not just indigenous people. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Now, back again to the history, because we need to give proper respect to the role of Melinda and Ivan. Is that correct?
Ivan and Madeline.
Madeline and late Madeline and Ivan.
Yeah.
And they're since going back to 1974.
Yeah.
They are the grandfathers.
Our grandparents. So.
Would you tell us a little bit about their life, what they did, and the role they had in creating the club?
Oh, they had a huge role, huge. Our grandfather, Ivan, we call him Papa. Everybody called him Papa. And our grandmother, everybody called her Granny. No matter who you were, it was always Granny and Papa. Even members from other clubs, they called them Granny and Papa. It was kind of cool. But they had a big part in everything that we've done and how we grew up. We grew up respecting everybody. It was. We actually grew up with them. They're pretty much like our parents. They told us what to do. They told our parents what to do, and we all listened. It was. My grandfather had taught everybody how to train. He was there every day, making sure they trained, they ran, they were out in a canoe, they worked out, make sure they ate properly. It was an awesome experience to see him put our parents through, and our parents' friends that paddled with our club. So it was good.
And Joey, do you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think we owe them owe our late grandparents for everything that is happening today with our club. You know, they molded us into what we are now. You know, with the work ethic that we carry, to all the traditions that we carry, the way we train, everything that they instilled in us is what we're still using today, and that's how we're able to accomplish this goal of representing Team Canada, representing all of Canada. And I think we owe them a lot to for what we are today.
And how is the club going in general? And are more youth involved? Is it still strong going?
Yeah, it's actually getting stronger now than all our kids are starting to. Like, we all have children of our own, and they're all getting involved. We have a 10 and under crew, 7 and under crew, all the way up to 16 and under, and then some of those 16 and under paddlers are starting to move on to the men's crew now, and we're getting back to where we were for a bit. We kind of had a bit of a slump for a bit, just due to guys injured and quitting the sport, and we had a couple of losses in our family, losing our grandparents, and we actually lost a brother on our crew, so that was pretty devastating to our club. But I think we're kind of coming out of that rut now, and a lifetime of hard work and dedication, everything from our grandparents, that was put into us. We're, still working at it, and it's paying off. We came this far. And, we just owe that to them, I think.
How is you see the club going?
How I see the club going?
Beside the competition for Tahiti, I mean, in general, inside with the community, how is the community involved with the club? This is the most important aspect of it. Racing, it's this is the goal, but the bonding coming from the community, it's also.
Oh yeah, the community part is awesome. How much support we're getting now for our big trip, and it's kind of overwhelming. It's how much the younger kids are actually, from what I've heard, is they're looking up to us now, and that I never knew before. Now it's all coming out that I've been told a few times how much they're looking up to Joey, Gus, and Len, myself, how they're admiring how much we're doing for the community now about paddling.
By the way, the Bakwashan First Nation, Bonnie from there, thanks a lot to her, who told me about you guys, and I can sense that there is a lot of excitement about it. So not only Tsartlip or First Nation or Tsawout, no, Bakwashan, Sekam, I mean, I can see that all around. Yes. And again, I'm sure, as you said, that give you more motivation to go against the Tahiti,
It's a big motivator, for sure.
And we would like to say thanks to all of them, actually. We have before in the show the Heliset Heli, and it's these sport. It has something bonding it for the community. Take away some negative issue or some catastrophe like suicide, and you focus more about something. It's part of your culture and identity, and
for sure.
And I hope one day you represent the Coast Salish people, and you bring that World Cup champion here.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yes,
that would be.
Yeah, it's a big task, but I'm pretty confident in my brothers here to do the best we can anyway. Represent Canada, represent our family, our community. All of Canada.
Thanks a lot for you guys here to be the host on this show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Not good luck. Just do what you can. Good luck. I don't believe in luck personally.
Yeah.
But it's obviously you are going to do what you can, and I think that you already. For me, I think it's enough, and for a lot of people, it's enough. Thanks again, Joey and George, and thank you, and thanks for watching this part of Indigenous Voice.
Can I say? Can I give shout-outs and stuff?
Sorry. No, we could. If you want to say something, we could.
Sure. I just wanted to say that we have fundraising efforts. We have fundraising goals. So if you'd like to help out Geronimo Canoe Club Team Canada, you can go to our website at geronimocanoeclub.com or our Facebook page at Geronimo Canoe Club Tahiti 2017 or our GoFundMe page. I guess you can find that on the website. So thanks for your support in advance.
Thanks for that. And I also have a special message with the end of, this is the last show for Indigenous Voice for 2016. And would like to thank everybody participated in the show, volunteer, guest, every person participated in the show. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next year. Thanks again, guys.
Each and every one of you for coming today. We just really appreciate that people have come forward, and I really want to thank my dear friend Belinda for all of, and Earl for what they have to bring forward. It reminds us that our way of life is not artifact, it's not mythology, it's live today, and they are our curriculum. They are the ones that are helping to guide the youth. And that's what our concern is here with this process, is that we are here to protect the rights of the youth. 2/3 of the population of most of the Indigenous communities is youth, and we need to help provide and protect that way of life. We don't want salmon to be part of a mythology that's only reflected in artwork. It's real. It was one of the first gifts provided to our people to sustain us, as well as the cedar was provided as a gift to sustain us. It kindles quickly so that we can find warmth. It also provided our shelter. You didn't need tools to work with cedar. You could split cedar just using water and wedges. So it was one of the most important gifts for us, as well as provided for the transportation system. So that's what our concern is when you ask us, how do we reconcile Aboriginal rights and Crown? I think it's really important that Crown begins to understand none of this is consultation until you hear what we're saying. We're very opposed to economic development that is resource plundering, whether it's marine environment or it's the land environment. Resource plundering affects each and every one of us in our way of life. British Columbia has taken a lot of pride in its natural beauty, its natural resources, and here we are at the threshold of some serious exploitation that could cause our way of life to disappear completely. And for First Nations people, many of us, very concerned that as pipelines go through, as tankers go through, it affects the last existence of our remains in the land, of our artifacts in the land. Our place is removed from history as the land becomes developed, as it continues to be overturned. And we've had this, as Belinda talks about many of her stories, we've had many of our important, not artifacts, but important landmarks removed. And they tell us about important history, or about how our young people are to be taken through puberty. A stone bowl, for instance, removed from where it existed for probably centuries, just removed by non-native people. Why something that they consider to be valuable, that they need to have for their home, that they want to put in a fountain possibly in their garden. So that we're very concerned about what this impact will have on us as a way of life. I think that for me, thinking about the Salish Sea, now that it's been called the Salish Sea, that's something very significant, very important. It's there to be protected for all Salish people. It's a gesture of reconciliation, of recognition of those treaty rights, as Earl said, existed and were practiced before proclamation, before the Royal Proclamation. And that we as saltwater people, before we had another treaty, before we defended the Sanchez Bay Marine case, saltwater people were the richest people in the world. We were taught that by one of our great teachers, Dave Elliott Sr., that we never had to hunger for food, we never had to beg for money, because everything that we needed was provided for us by the riches of the sea. Where we live in Tsawout is one of the most important saltwater mudflats. And mudflat is very distinct in all the life forms that it provides. It's all there to provide and build on each system, sustaining each other. So that the eelgrass is there for the crab, it's also there for the 5 different kinds of salmon. They court each other in there. As well, there's many medicinal plants that are there to help clean the water and keep it clean. The barnacle life is there to keep the water clean. And we see all of that disappearing. Very, very concerned that wave action has an impact on that. Spills have an impact on that. And Earl talked about that wave action, the vibration, that we don't know all of what it does to the microsystems that are in the water. And in Sandwich Bay, we also have the freshwater, saltwater marsh. It's a very distinct feature of the environment that has a very distinct purpose. Without it, there are microorganisms that will die off. So we have a great concern as this kind of economic development tries to push its way into our territories. And we're not just a land-based people, as many people have said here. We are marine-based. We have names of our places where we've been, places where we've lived. And our land base is very small because we didn't need to have an accumulation of land because we used the water, we used the lands. Our families camped in very regular places. They met up in very regular places. They used the land in a very specific way. And that kept us strong as people, kept us united as people. Belinda provided her name, her Indian name that was given to her. My name is Geronimo, and that name comes to me from Nanaimo. And that's to remind us where we originate from, where our mothers originate from. That's my great-great-grandmother's name, given to my mother, and then now given to me and given to my daughter. So it reminds us of who we're related to, but it also reminds us of where we come from. And so that if we do happen to be in a territory and we do want to have some fishing privileges or hunting privileges, we may have relations there if we share our name. So that often is something that we do, share our name. And I think that it is just a real concern, again, that we think about the cumulative effects of this kind of development. And it starts from that very small system, the algae system, the one-cell life form. I think it's very much of a concern. I saw a lady from Connecticut one time singing to a little one-celled animal, and that animal started to dance as she was singing. And she was just reminding us about how important our connection is to the smallest system. And much of the artwork reminds us of that all the time. The messages, the most important messages come to us from the smallest messengers. So you will often see a mouse as your most important messenger. A very humble being will come to you and provide that message. And I think that's how we as First Nations people are coming forward. We may be small in terms of what we're able to bring forward. We may not be able to have a lot of policy analysts, research at our disposal, lawyers at our disposal, but we come with a very important, clear message to save the environment. And it's not to save the environment for us to this day, but to save it for the generations of children that are ahead of us. And a real concern for us is that what sustains us as a people is our way of life. What sustains us as a people are our teachings. We want that to help our youth, to ground them in what's good about their identity, what's strong about their identity. And we want to make sure that we stand tall for the environment for them. We cannot just lay down and let this happen without saying something. This is not right. This is not consultation, because somewhere along the line, the minds have been already made up by the federal and provincial government. Failing over and over and over again to recognize what has been put before you already about Aboriginal rights, Indigenous rights, First Nations rights, Douglas Treaty rights, whatever you want to call it. It's there. It's been laid out before you, and you need to recognize it and uphold it as we try to do, because it's very important. And I know I grew up on that mudflat, and I reflect over and over again how I used to watch our fishermen go out there. And like Belinda and others have said, the reef net fishery was a practice. But as we knew when we grew up, it was easy to get fish. It was easy to hunt ducks. They were there in vast quantity for us. Our table was set for us, and that's what Dave Elliott told us and wanted to instill in us, that we were the richest people in the world. And that mudflat has a particular smell, and some people don't like it. But when you walk up there on it, you can just see how alive it is, all of the different features of it. And we know very much that the eelgrass is damaged by boats, by tankers, just by people. We know how important that feature is to our bay, but also everywhere. We can't understand why the province allows those products to be harvested, and they call it aquaculture. And that's destroying as well our sea urchin. And the sea urchin is one of the most important products that we have. And it's being marketed internationally, but we cannot get it to sustain ourselves as a basic food. And now it's a medicine for the old people, and it's a gesture of respect because it's so hard to come by. So I think that we're asking to be heard. We're saying time and time again very consistently that we do not want to have these kind of developments happening in our waters or on our land. The hunting and fishing rights are there forever. They are not to be extinguished. They are not to be infringed upon. Those were things that were told to us by the government of the day. We've been given other words: accommodation, mitigation, restoration, reconciliation. And a lot of times it's us who bear the burden of telling you what that means. Yet we've consistently said the same thing. It means let us live as people free in our own homeland and using the land and the water together to sustain us as strong, healthy people. I find that the whole process has been very disrespectful, it's very confusing, and it's very coercive. In many situations, the first thing that comes to our tables is the offer of a mutual benefits agreement. And I think that's very coercive to do that to people who are struggling with major health issues, issues of housing, and issues of really no economy, no way to build up an economy to sustain the people. So I really think that if you're taking anything back to the National Energy Board, it's to really go back to the table and really talk about mitigation. We were talking to them about mitigation, meaning how are we going to sustain the salmon fishery? How are we going to ensure that the waters are safe for the whale. And then all the other microsystems, as we said, we talked about, that are so important. We look at the Fraser River, we look at all of these estuaries that are so important to us. Will they be there if there's that wave action? And that's a big concern. And we already know what's happening to our salmon, that it's not even wild salmon anymore, that it's been contaminated, and that was an economic development idea. So I think we need to be careful in what we do as we step forward, but I think that it's been really clear from First Nations that we've said no thank you to this, and how do we push back? So I just want to say hi Skahela, and I really hope that you will hear people today and tomorrow, and throughout the time that you're traveling, that you will hear what people are saying, and you understand that it's very hard to come forward to processes like this, because so much of our words get interpreted as consultation. It's not consultation until we actually are heard, and particularly in British Columbia. British Columbia exists at the goodwill of First Nations. British Columbia is still unceded First Nations territory. I stop here.
Very nice. Thank you.
My name is John Tom, Chief of Tsartlip First Nation. I am reluctant, thank you. I brought one fan here today. I have some reluctance in providing or commenting on this panel. I feel that much like the National Energy Board, that this panel is a farce that has no real contribution towards affecting how we plan on addressing pipelines and fossil fuels in the future. If it's clearly just reporting and that is all. I have great concern for that. This, I think coming from a First Nations perspective, that our relationship is strictly with the Crown, and this is not clearly, and this is why I'm reluctant to get up and speak, that this is not Crown consultation. I do know that they will have Crown consultation with us, and that they've put up the invite. But the invitation to come here and speak has made me very reluctant, in that you don't represent the Crown. I'd like to thank the mayors and the councils for your words here today and your concern, and we share them as well. And thank you for sharing the words and some of the comments passed on from the elders in Sankum. I greatly appreciate it, and we are fundamentally opposed to this project. It is reckless, it is wrong. We bear all the risks that come of this project and none of the benefits. And that's not specific to Tsartlip, but that's specific to, I think, all of BC. And that a business company from Texas is the one who's benefiting all from this, and someone else is collecting all the royalties from this, and it isn't us. So I think the risks far outweigh the benefits, and I am also disappointed in the timeline of notice. We did receive a notice to come here as well, and I don't think it was enough notice for us to plan or put something effectively together that represents our concerns. But I just wanted to get up and share a few words because I didn't plan on coming to share a few words. I just wanted to come and listen to the local government. I missed the opportunity to come this morning for a meeting with the province. But I just wanted to say that it's not personal, my concern for the conflict of interest. I think it's just what is and what has happened. And I think your background with Kinder Morgan and your, it's not personal. I think I like the work that you've done in the past as chief of Tsawwassen. But it's just, I guess, the appearance of conflict of interest.
Can I ask you a question? Did your community participate as an intervener in the
Yes, we did.
in the NAB process?
Yeah.
And do you have any specific comments about that experience? Because we are not Crown Consultation.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, I think my experience with sort of it's frustrating that there was no cross-examination. It's difficult for me to, I think when there's a panel, when somebody contributed to putting together Kinder Morgan's package and he sits on the panel of the National Energy Board, I find difficult in finding satisfaction that my concerns are going to be listened to. And so the very fact that someone contributed to Kinder Morgan's project and now sits on the National Energy Board. And also that we're Tsartlip, the island communities here, I think we're an afterthought in terms of Kinder Morgan, in terms of consultation, because we were directly impacted on the pipeline route. And it was very evident when they reached out to us later on compared to other First Nations in BC or Alberta. But we're an afterthought, but we have clearly defined rights out on the waters by the Sanishin Bay Marina case that says that our rights aren't limited to just the practice of fishing, that the rights are unqualified rights, and that it protects the aqualife, the environment in the water. Those treaty rights extend into the water, and that it is to be maintained and preserved for all time for us to be able to hunt and fish as formerly. I don't know if you have any other questions, but I just found that the NAB process was, it's from the Harper era, and he's, I think Harper and his omnibus bill that has really watered down the environmental process and looking after our protected areas that are no longer protected, that used to be under the Federal Act. And through the omnibus bill that is no longer. And so I feel that through the National Energy Board, it's through a Harper regime that has come in and just tried to, in my opinion, steamroll over First Nations interests, First Nations rights, treaty rights, and I think the interest of British Columbians and Canadians.
Thank you.